rumor has it that the new iPhone is going to have a Type-C USB connector.
Yeah. Supposedly they've been gently pushed into it over years. And it seems plausible, but who knows?
Well, it's already in the iPads.
Right.
And it's nice. I like it.
There's actually more pros than you might imagine just by looking at it and saying, oh, it's a different port. It charges my phone. Because part of the reason seems to be Apple's been a bit stubborn, like they like being. And they refuse to have any appreciable improvements or changes to the existing connector that's on phones, the Lightning connector. So it's really slow, doesn't allow a lot of power output. And as a result, the implementation of like dongles, DACs, and stuff like that we care about in audio seems to be a little lacking.
Yeah, that's the thing we ran into just recently. Us guys being into headphones, we were messing around with some USB dongles and stuff and found out that the iPhone, the current iPhones, even up to 14, don't power them very well when you're looking for high current.
Yeah, they all have like a current limit.
It chokes.
They just shut off.
Yeah, the phones. Where the iPad is okay with it.
Yeah.
And, of course, a desktop like the new Mac, what the hell they call it? The
Studio.
Yeah, the Studio. Studio works great with them. So you could see the levels of, power that are available, even on the same connector, really.
Well, yeah.
But the limitation on the phone is ridiculous.
Yeah, and it's not only that. It's that if you have two current devices, a current iPad Pro or Air that has a Type-C and an iPhone, you need to switch what adapter you're using to go to a dongle or any kind of external.
Oh yeah,
DAC.
right. You need an adapter.
And they look so close that from a distance you think it's the right one. You're like, oh, this is the Lightning one, not a
Yeah, how many
Type-C.
times we thought we had it in front of us, and you go, oh shit,
That's
it's the wrong one. Yeah.
Which is annoying.
Well, the universal part of it's going to be great, just to be able to have one connector for. Well, you were mentioning too, Android uses it already, right?
Yeah, it's widely used.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. And if you look at the ecosystem that's currently available, there's very little support for aftermarket DAC amp things that go direct Lightning for various reasons. I'm sure to some extent because of the proprietary nature of the connection, and Apple likes locking these things down. But in Type-C, it's pretty rich and diverse. And curiously, at least on current gen iPads, they all work.
Yeah, right.
This thing, presumably they have a spec for it. I don't know. But this thing will put out enough power to power all those little dongle things, no problems.
Yeah.
They crank.
Well, it kind of makes sense, I guess, too. I get it from the Apple standpoint, too. I mean, the battery has the iPhone has a much smaller battery than all these other devices. So I get it. I mean, when you put a higher power USB device on there, drawing power from the internal battery, you don't have a lot of life on that phone, and you can't charge it usually while you're doing it. So I don't know. Is there a way to do it now? Do they have? Can you?
Well, the camera connector, you could charge it.
Oh,
at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's adapters that allow that. They're obviously a little clunky. It'd be nice if they just put 2 ports on the phone or something like that. Presumably, you could charge it wireless while you're doing that, which isn't.
MagSafe.
They're not the best solutions, right? But for short-term listening on the go, it's a great option because the dongles are inexpensive. They work pretty well. They're reasonably small. You just plug it in, you're good to go, and you don't need to worry about not having the port or not having the power to drive your high impedance or low sensitivity headphones.
Not only that, I mean, just for power delivery, most new vehicles have Type-C for power, so then you wouldn't need Type-C to Type-C cables.
Yeah, I mean, the whole idea that it being so universal is just it's terrific all around.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense because everything else Apple makes is already their laptops have been Type-C since like 2015.
Yeah, in fact,
so
they went down to what that one when they started converting over, they had like original, 2 of them on the just 2 Type-Cs.
Yeah, original MacBook.
Yeah, that didn't work out so well, but that's a whole other story.
Yeah, it's a good connector. I like it. Agreed. It would be nice to see it used in its standard implementation without any proprietary lockdown. So hopefully that ends up happening in the phone. I don't know why they wouldn't, but we'll see. This is speculation at this point, but it is very encouraging. It seems quite possible it's going to happen.
Well, I do know too. The one thing that always pissed me off is having these things in a car. The old school one. As soon as they get wet, they seem to be trashed. They have they have no external way to stop it from happening. Where the Type-C at least is shrouded. If something splashes on it, or even you step on it with a boot, or in the wintertime, it'll shrug off most of it.
You do seem to have a lot of
contacts
problems
are inside.
failing.
Yeah.
Well, but the contacts are a little more fragile inside the device.
That's right.
There's a thin little board with the contacts are on each side of, and you could jam stuff in there and crack it.
Well, I'm not saying you dip it in water, but what I'm saying is that, on an external way, I think it's going to be far better than, The other one, you touch it with a drop of something, it's done. If you sit for a couple of days, it's pretty
The
much
cable,
done.
but not the device.
The cable.
The device
Right.
was more robust.
Yeah, right. The cable.
Type-C, the device connector is actually a little bit weaker. So pros and cons.
Yeah.
But they're pretty sturdy.
I mean,
so.
they've been putting them in laptops for, like you said, a number of years now. I'm
8
assuming
years.
they're holding up.
Yeah.
Right. Well, the real key now is wireless charging is so common. You could get wireless, like MagSafe battery things.
Yeah.
So it's not too big of a deal. Even if your connector were to break, it's
You can
in
still charge it.
years you could still charge the phone. It's
Yeah.
kind of hacky, but better than it was. Like if your 30-pin dot connector broke, you had
Has
to
anyone talked
replace
about it? Is it a problem breaking Type-Cs?
It's not really a problem, I would
Seems
say, but
pretty
people
strong.
break them.
Because of the metal shell, I would think that's the strain relief. Where the earlier ones, the connector
No,
itself.
there's
is
an
a-
exposed like little plastic thing or whatever with all the pins on the
In the
inside,
jack.
inside the jack and the phone.
Yeah,
Or
but I'm
whatever,
talking about the
device.
plug itself is actually,
Right.
because
But you
it's
can
a metal
replace
shell.
that.
It's a right. But what I'm saying is it's more strain relief on the shell.
Oh, the
not-
connector's
not on the-
superior.
yeah. So I think that's where it wins out. It balances out. I get what you're saying.
Well, I'd rather have the cable break rather than my
Well,
device.
It's easy
agreed.
to replace. Yeah.
But like you said, we haven't heard of any real reports.
I mean, I'm
of-
sure it happens.
It happens.
Yeah.
It certainly happens.
I mean, Type A's break too. And
Well,
that
yeah.
thing's
They
a
all
goddamn
break.
brick. So,
Well, and it's also rumored that they're going to support Thunderbolt, same cable, obviously. So we'd finally get past 2.0 spec transfer speed. So because now they're also saying you might be able to get a 2 terabyte iPhone, and can you imagine transferring 2 terabytes of music or something like that
Yeah,
at
right.
USB 2 speeds?
yeah.
So it's going from like 480 megabit to potentially 40 gigabit, right?
What doesn't make any sense is they allow you to record ProRes video on iPhone,
Right.
and it's actually pretty good. With aftermarket apps, you can even do 60 FPS, 422, ProRes HQ.
I'm sure a lot of YouTubers
4K,
are using all
which
that for.
we're talking about gigantic
YouTube.
files here. And trouble there is if you're recording it on your phone, you get a one or 2 terabyte model. Taking it off the phone, it takes literally hours.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Over
You're just gonna
USB
walk
2. It's
away, yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah, right.
So I don't know why they decided to never improve the transfer speeds, but allegedly Type-C is going to also be Thunderbolt compatible on this device, so you should be able to transfer at hundreds or maybe even 1,000 or so megabytes a second.
Limited the drive, hopefully.
I know we had just with our own YouTube channel, just because of limited internet speeds alone, just the upload speed, because we don't have fiber here yet in our area. It's just even with Spectrum, it's brutal. Takes like 12 hours to upload a video.
Depending
So
on the video.
Anything
Yeah,
that improves,
usually longer.
Anything that improves the workflow, and reduces that time from production to.
Yeah, but we're not using iPhones here, so it doesn't really.
Yeah, no, we're not. Yeah, but I'm just saying a lot of YouTubers are.
Yeah.
So I mean, you could see where okay, you've got
It
this
annihilates it for the
Yeah.
production workflow
Yeah.
because it's actually pretty capable, and the fact that you have it in your pocket is awesome. So for getting the shot when you don't have any other device, it's an awesome option, but you literally have to sit there for hours transferring it off.
Yeah.
And normally that's just
So
so
slow.
frustrating because you're sitting there just waiting before you get edited or processor or whatever. So for things like that, and of course transfer music to the device or whatever, massive improvement.
Yeah, right. And the way people are using these phones nowadays, especially for YouTube and high res files and music and all that.
Right.
File size is huge.
It better happen. Let's just say that this USB-C needs to happen. Because it's superior way to deal with data at this point.
Even something as simple as when you get a new iPhone, transferring all your stuff over to a computer and then putting it back onto a new phone.
It takes hours.
It's like I can't use my phone for 3 hours because it's just sitting there transferring.
It's faster over Wi-Fi a lot of times.
Yeah, might as well do it wirelessly. Yeah.
As crazy as
Yeah.
that sounds. So anyway, we're excited to hear that. We're excited to. First of all, we're excited that Apple has high res music in their music now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Their
Apple
subscription
Music.
service. Yeah. So that's great. Now we're shifting over to hopefully the ability that all devices can navigate with the same plug,
Right.
so that we can plug in an iPhone or an iPad to all our accessories, our DACs, whatever we have, without having to change adapters and cables.
Well, unlike when they originally switched to Lightning from the 30 pin, they're not switching to another proprietary connector. It's
Yeah, right.
it's a well-established one that they even already use. So,
Yeah, so
it should be pretty seamless.
it's great.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
We
mean,
just need to
within
see
their
it
own
happen.
ecosystem.
Right.
It'll all
They
be the
already
same.
use it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So great. good to hear.
Yep.
We're excited about it. Makes life easier for us. Less for us to have to explain to customers who have never done this before.
And
one cable solves the problem. You don't have to figure out what they have for a phone, a model.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. Over time.
It'll take a little while.
It's not going to
over
happen,
time.
obviously, next month.
But that's great.
We're only a few weeks away from finding out.
Yep.
And it might actually be a pretty good reason, even if you have an iPhone 14 upgrade, if you use it for audio.
Yeah. Well, I got a 13, so I'm definitely getting a 15 with a USB-C. I want, of course, assuming they're going to call it a 15.
Yeah. Supposed to
presumably.
Yeah. So.
We'll see.
Yeah. So on that
a few
note,
weeks.
Yeah. Thumbs us up if you like this video, please, and make sure to hit subscribe because we got some really cool shit to announce next week. So catch our video September 1 on Friday, where we're going to talk about more about these guys here, these headphones, the new model, Diane MR. Take care, everyone. Thanks.